Thanks for tuning in to Look at My JPEG, the podcast that discusses NFT, DeFi, and NFT financialization. This is your host, Xerox Jose, the founder of nftperp. The reason why I want to do this podcast is because there's just not enough people talking about NFT financializations. In this podcast, you can expect us to invite guests that are builders, founders, even investors that are deep in the NFT financialization space. We'll discuss their story, what they're building, and how you can get involved. So, thanks for tuning in.
Hello, gentlemen.
What? Good morning, my fellow nuts.
Good morning, guys.
What's up?
How are y'all doing?
Chilling, man.
Good. Volatility is up and things are fun. Tired though.
It's probably early for some of y'all, right?
It's 8 a.m.
It's 2 a.m. here.
Ooh. Yeah.
Wait, you guys are both the East Coast?
Sorry?
What did you say, Ryan?
I said you guys are both East Coast.
Nah, I'm from Europe. I just moved recently from Spain to Estonia. So
Yeah. I'm in New York.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, so I'm in Lisbon, Portugal.
Ooh, many people in Lisbon now.
Yeah, it went through a bit of a bull cycle here, and I think it's probably declining. We're seeing some bearish divergence going on, and I think it's going to crash.
Dude, you gotta come to New York. New York is got that resilience. It's got Bitcoin qualities.
Yeah. It's New York, the BTC of real estate.
There is no second best.
Yeah, no, seriously. If you actually think about it, so it's funny. Not to go into it, but I actually think about almost everything in terms of these a chart. And if you think about real estate in that perspective, and cities, not just the prices of real estate, but its livelihood and prominence, New York effectively is something that's just has euphoria moments and then boom bust cycles, and then but it's always comes back stronger. So it's got that precedence for it.
What are the layer twos and the roll ups?
I guess that would be the suburbs. So you could probably invest in yeah. You could probably invest in Jersey City, Connecticut, or some shit like that, and be oh shit, we are at the boom phase. The boom phase implies that the layer twos are going to blow up. But you got to be careful though, because those places are mad beta to New York City, and they will eventually have a bust cycle, and the proxies will the high beta plays will basically die, but New York City will be around.
All right, I already fucking love this conversation, the way it's going. One last question before we hop to crypto specific. What are the cities that are I don't know, Tron or Cardano?
Bruh. Something in Iowa, maybe? I don't know.
I think it's going to be Hong Kong, actually. The reason being that it was very artificially built. That's in terms of how it was created and the history in which it was actually built. That said, not to say that it can't succeed, simply because that there's no historical precedent that naturally built it. For example, Shanghai has a natural water port. Same thing with New York City. But Hong Kong was kind of a forced kind of thing based on history and just geopolitical precedent. Well, that's my perspective, but
interesting. Yeah.
The ultimate. We actually talk about crypto here, just real estate.
All right, so I'm gonna go through some of the the questions I want to go through with y'all. So I guess we can start with Ask Crusader. Tell us about yourself. Oh, hold on. Tell us about your Twitter handle first. How did that come about?
Oh man, that's even a mystery to myself. I don't know. It just one day I woke up and hey, I need to be called this, and then and became this.
You woke up with this.
Yeah, it's low key goated. I love
Yeah.
I love saying your name. It just like rolls off the tongue really well. So
Yeah, I mean, for people who are like too embarrassed to pronounce it or whatever, I just usually say, call me AC, and that's, like easier version of that. But yeah.
Good chat. Yeah, give us a quick intro of yourself. You like, how'd you get into crypto?
Oh man, I don't know. I've been like, I guess, mining Bitcoin with on the mom's laptop like back in 2012 or 10. I don't even remember. And then and it wasn't anything serious. I think then in 2016, I had some friends trading Ethereum and a bunch of other stuff, and I also kind of started like dabbling into that, like following all the ICOs every day. Would just like I don't remember what was the website, but just would connect to some kind of website and go through all ICOs that launching through the day, and it was like 30 or like 50 each day, and maybe some of them would be the hits, and it was great. Man, I remember there was one like wheat coin or something. It was supposed to be like a coin for wheat dispensaries to trade between each other. Like literally made no sense. It was just like a fork of Litecoin or something. And yeah, I mean, but it was great. And then I actually sold everything in December right before the crash, like a couple of the weeks, and just
December 20, what?
17.
17.
Just because I was like super broke as fuck, and I was like late on everything, on like rent and all the payments and everything, and I just, okay, I have to sell stuff, and I just thought, okay, I'll sell everything. And I don't know, it wasn't a lot of money, but I think I made like in total 5K or something, but at that time it was like life saving for me, and very cool. And after that, I kind of, I don't know, I just started working and stuff, and I wasn't really into crypto until 2020. There was like a couple of YouTube channels that I was following, and they had like Discord communities. And one of the Discord communities had quite a cool uh, crypto channel, and there's like some guys were like flexing their P&Ls on Link and like Bancor and like bunch of other stuff. And I was like, hey, I mean, that's pretty cool. Like, I was thinking that need to somehow make some money and stuff, and I was okay, maybe that's the place. And yeah, I mean, then I sort of got into DeFi. Like the first project I think was Alchemix, like that I really got into. It was like after the DeFi summer. And I don't know, since then I was just like chilling, sort of trading a little bit from time to time. I don't really consider myself like a trader. I'm just like, I don't know, looking for like early entries into stuff. And sometimes I would like LP things a little bit. Like right now I'm LPing NFTs on all of the Caviar, the Pseudo, NFTX as well. I mean, trading from time to time perps like I've been following Milady a lot, so I think I have a good feel on Milady, and yeah, like
Uh, yeah, so we're gonna dive into LP maybe a little bit after later in this pod because I'm pretty interested in LP's perspective or collective
yeah,
perspective on liquidity provision. Um,
yeah. But in general, I usually say I'm like crypto enjoyer, more or less. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
All right. I'm gonna switch the mic to Wen a little bit. Um, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, so I guess like you asked two questions effectively. Number one is the background and username, and two is like a crypto journey effectively. So in terms of number one, Wen is actually my real name, ironically. A lot of people thought like messaged me and was like, holy shit, why are you sounds like coherent? I thought you were a retard because of your like username. But then I was like, okay, maybe I'll just get something like Wen Lambo. It's kind of a pretty sick name. Yeah, and then I also did like I got 42 because like 69 is kind of lame. I feel like it's too overused. So I became Wen Lambo 42. And also because like I can't get Wen Lambo because it's all sat on. Like, yeah, there's no way I'm getting that username. But then anyway, in terms of my crypto journey, it actually kind of my first impression of crypto was in 2012. around 2012, 2013. And I noticed that everyone that was into crypto was a bit of an autistic incel. Um, like they were all like low social status males. And that was actually kind of like the first inkling of how I formulated my perception of crypto. And what I mean by low social status males was because a lot of times they would say something like, yeah, the reason I'm into this is because decentralization or some nonsense. But most of the time when I dug deeper, I just felt like they were people who lack a peer group and wanted peers so that they can like do something, give themselves self-esteem and like an identity of sorts. Of course, at the time, I still wrote it off because I was like, well, these guys are low social status males. They're not going to actually do anything. But I mean, over time, I have participated in various like activist causes. Example, gay rights. Another example, there was a porn company I was like producing for a while, and then there was like other things I don't really want to get into.
Wait,
I was also
wait.
like,
Did you just say you were producing porn at one point?
yes.
Okay.
So there was a social activist thing I believed that porn would help.
Gay
But
porn or normal porn? Well, I shouldn't say
actually,
normal porn because you can't define what's normal, right?
yeah. So to make a long story short, the basic thing was I once hooked up with a Latina girl, and then she was like, says to me like, "Ooh, grande por un chino," and I was like, "What the fuck?" I'm pretty sure you've never been with like an Asian guy. And I thought about it, and I was just like, I'm pretty sure this is affecting me negatively in terms of like stereotypes. And back then, in like from the early 2010s, I was super into getting laid. So I figured like, well, I'm not a free rider. I should just like, and I'm also making good bank in finance. So I'm going to start producing porn and link up with some dudes. And yeah, that's what happened. I just like uh, put some money in like some Asian guy with a big dick, and then he just started fucking girls. Um, Unfortunately, he committed suicide at some point, so that was a really sad story. But yeah, anyway,
Wow.
I don't really want to get into it, but it was like, actually a really, really messed up endeavor. There was, but I will say though, like I realized from that experience and like all the various experiences, whether it be gay rights or whatever, that everyone there would say they're into something. But when I dug deeper, I would just realize, well, no, I think you just lack a peer group. And usually you lack a peer group because you are low social status, and this kind of cause gives you a reason to like, yeah. That basically produced my concept of crypto. And like, and then when I look around, I feel the same way, to be frank. Not to call you guys autistic incels, but I think autistic incels basically power crypto effectively. And I don't mean this in like an insulting and derogatory way. It's, if you read my Twitter post, it's basically how I basically make my bets, whether it be via Milady or when I was getting into SPX or even Ethereum, to be honest, like way back.
So,
But
okay,
yeah.
so you bring up a couple interesting points that I think we can just kind of like freely dive into. And this is like, at the end of the day, crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or a layer two or an application, even an NFT project, like it really survives in community. And community don't form when you have unless you have like a central belief system, right? And people that
Yes.
are aligned in the same belief system would, obviously get together in a tribe. And I think like what you brought on earlier about the words you used was artistic incels, like decentralization, and people don't really care. But like I think when Bitcoin first came out, it was an idea, right? It came out what 2009, and people really start mining it, and like became really a thing in 2012, 13. It spoke to a certain crowd. And if you go to like I talked about these in DM before, like if you go to Bitcoin conferences, it's typically people that are a little bit older, and care about libertarianism, and care about like decentralization. And for every stage of the crypto bull run, it brings in different types of people and different culture groups, different belief systems. Ethereum is a different crowd. And I think the ICO stages brought in different type of people that are more maybe financially driven, and then like the DeFi people that are different. So if you put them all in the same room, they're gonna group together and talk about like very specific things because they have different belief systems. Do you think the crypto is still powered and driven by the autistic incels, or do you think like because of different application and how wide it is right now, it's actually bringing different type of people together?
So just to say, the final thing I wanted to like mention about the background thing was that eventually I changed my mind around sometime around like 2017 to 2020 because I realized that well these guys can actually change the world, and after doing some research I realized that is how the world has changed. To your point on like belief systems, I believe that belief systems are actually irrelevant in of itself. They are a fake because, however, they are important in the sense of you need something to coalesce. You need a ideology to coalesce. To give an historical example, Mao Zedong was a man who ran a successful book chain. Then he moved on to Hunan independence movement because he was a Hunan nationalist for a while, and then he moved on to communism. And then he changed communism itself into more of a old school peasant revolt, largely because it is what worked. However, the beliefs were constantly in flux. And if you actually looked at the various like warlords, even in back in China in like the 1920s, they all actually had like pretty intense ideologies, or even like any general like cause, Russian Revolution or whatever was all the things that were happening in Latin America, there were belief systems that were varied and plenty. The belief systems itself creates cause and gives justification. But I think ultimately the real base is just being, well, I shouldn't say autistic incels, low status, effectively, low status males who feel that they are losers and need a reason to kind of like say, no, I'm not a loser. I'm creating something new. And I think a new belief system is not so much a way to, it's not so much they differentiate themselves. Well, it is more so like, oh, hey, man, those guys are already kind of like rich and powerful. And these other these other low status males, we need to like fight them, but we don't want to just join them. So let's make something up. What we need is another belief system. What I'm just saying is basically the new belief systems are a new fake because they don't want to like enrich old holders. They want to enrich something new.
Yeah, I mean, like, why would you want to play by the rules of old game if you can sort of make your own game? Like, at least for me, like one of the reasons why crypto was so interesting, like in comparison to traditional finance, is because like it's a different world. Like, I mean, like different values, different things that are important, and I don't know. I just like I don't really see how old world functions like sustainable or interesting. I don't think it's like even worth thinking about too much. So yeah, crypto is like obvious choice.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I guess like I guess so. Just like transitioning a little bit, like what drew you guys to outside of maybe being like the first in place that you could like trade a liquid JPEGs. What drew you guys to NFT perp, and then maybe we could jump into some of the trading chat a little bit.
Maybe I can start first. So in terms of what drew me to NFT perp, it was actually my friend Gideon, who he works at like Open. I think he works at OpenSea Pro. Nice guy. He just told me about it. He was just trying. I don't remember if he was trying to show me a referral code or something, but he told me about it. And then at the time, there were a lot of dumps on like like in Blur, there was an interesting mechanic that was created because of the Blur farming, where like people would just like dump massive NFTs and it'll take a while to play out. In that, like, hey, someone dumped like 50 mutant apes, and then suddenly it's just going to like drop, but it'll drop slowly in a weird grind.
I can't hear when now.
Yeah, I think he dropped off a little bit.
I guess, yeah. I figured it might have been on my end, but I guess let's just pass it over to you, AC. I
Yeah.
guess, yeah.
I don't remember exactly how I found nftperp, but like I just sort of I think when I saw it, I liked the idea. Nobody else before sort of tried to make the perps for NFTs, so this was. I mean, there's a reason why nobody else made them because it is quite challenging to get like all the oracles and everything working. So I sort of just wanted to see how it will play out, and it's like a new area that's kind of unexplored. And yeah, I mean, so far seems very interesting. Like how the whole thing worked with virtual AMMs and all that. Like I don't know, it's like sort of exploring new things, and while sort of being invested into it, you can learn a lot of shit, which is good, and I like learning stuff. So yeah.
When you're back
Yeah.
now, can you
Can
hear
you hear
me?
me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. The basic thing is I just saw a price discrepancy from Blur dynamic mechanics, and I just wanted to take advantage of it. It just seemed like a relatively easy mechanic to make money off of.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So, like, you're talking, specifically about the kind of like bidding, right?
So like the Blur, I'm just talking about like the Blur incentives, which means that people are okay losing money to some degree, because in like the I guess the world, so to speak, if someone is okay losing money, then you can take some part of it, and it's pretty much a PvP game.
Yeah, yeah. So, and when Blur launched, I guess like season one, they were incentivizing more or less putting up bids, right? So, yeah, same type thing. Like looking at that was pretty interesting. Then they launched, Blend. I guess like, and I know this might be a little jumpy, so I don't know how active you are in farming right now, but flooring also they launched, and what's kind of interesting is like, um, yeah, like it seems like people are using that to more or less like exit as like exit liquidity. I don't know if you guys have paid any attention to flooring or have any opinion on them, but figured I would ask. It doesn't feel very sustainable, but curious if you guys have a specific opinion.
What do they do exactly? I mean, I heard of them, but I haven't really investigated. They have two little mutuals for me. I somehow like just look at who follows stuff, and like I either ignore it if there's not too many mutuals, or I don't.
Yeah, I mean they're basically like NFTX is how I understand it. Except yeah, like I don't think there's much difference from NFTX, except that they actually have liquidity there.
Oh, but it's like protocol owned liquidity, or is it something that people?
No, it's people. It's people depositing their NFT and essentially wrap it into a fungible token version of it. Then they will supply ETH with that token onto Uniswap V3.
So it is like NFTs.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because I haven't caught up with the NFTX guys in a bit. They NFTX, when they first came out, they're focusing on sushi pools. I'm not exactly sure why they went for sushi instead of uni, but the flooring guys are focusing on Uni V3, which is obviously way more capital efficient. In theory, the liquidity is like quote unquote thicker than a Uni V2, like a Uni V2 pool.
Yeah, I mean, UniV2 is nice in a sense that you can just sort of deposit and forget stuff. I mean, for some things, I kind of like that approach, but if you can afford to be a bit more active and actually sort of looking after your positions, yeah, UniV3 is definitely like way more better to generate all them fees and all that.
All right. So this kind of brought back to my question earlier. Like, AC, you said you do provide liquidity on NFT AMMs like Caviar, for example. What are the other AMMs you provide liquidity to, and like how's the experience been?
Yeah, so it's both Caviar, Pseudo, and FTX. Right now in NFTX, I don't think I have much anymore because I didn't have much to do. So I decided, okay, I'm just gonna sort of more actively do the UniV3 style stuff, which since it's kind of gives me more control and it's a bit more like trading rather than being a passive fee enjoyer. But I don't know. I really like it. Like Sudo recently, they did a lot of nice stuff. They released their V2, which seems quite cool. Caviar also was working on stuff. They're a bit more quiet recently, but they kind of released all the features and everything that needs to be there. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Caviar pools, especially with Remelios, were really good for me. I've been like LPing from them from the start, and literally, actually, these ones are in the UniV2 style pool, so I didn't even need to do anything. And I don't know. I think it was how much did I deposit? Something like 5 ETH, and I think maybe like a half a year ago, and it generated like 2 ETH just doing nothing. I mean, it's kind of decent, just for sitting there. So yeah.
So I think this would be a good like probably segue into the combination of doing market making, liquidity provision, and using NFT perps at the same time. Like, have you guys done anything of the sort or interested in doing something like that? And how do you envision like NFT perp V2 would fit into that type of operation?
I mean, the professional market makers, they usually try to still stay like neutral, delta neutral. These not strategy, so the it kind of makes sense. So they kind of just farm the fees, and you don't care about the price going up and down. The only thing with NFT perp is the funding payments were quite high, so it's quite tricky to get that. But other than that, I mean, it seems reasonable, yeah.
So I can speak a bit about this since I've done this or experimented around with it before. Back when NFT perp was still running around, the by and large of the issue is two things: one, spreads, and two, unit prices. Spreads with respect to well, back then you effectively it made no sense to market make on what is effectively like 0.01 ETH spread on the BAYC. And especially when like if you suddenly try to hedge with hedge on NFT perp, you would actually be creating more slippage than the spread. The uh, furthermore, like the unit price of a single item made it that it was actually quite difficult to, in terms of slippage, to actually like hedge properly a BAYC. That said, if you were to say like during volatile moments with Remilio and hedge on the NFT perp, it would be actually quite doable, especially if it was like 10% wide and the NFT perp was tighter than that. That said, I mean, Remilio was the lowest unit price item on an NFT perp. There are some considerations which are basically not the same, given that the environment is different now. But I think effectively the big consideration on spreads and unit price is still there, just different, I guess, configurations.
So, like in theory, when V2 comes out, you could have much less slippage if you have the correct counterparty, if you're a taker, right? If you're making as a maker order, you could potentially enter in a much larger notional value and essentially have like zero slippage if taker takes a trade.
I wonder what's gonna happen once like the blur farming is over, because I mean right now like the spreads are quite tight, and I'm really like wonder what's. I mean, in my opinion, like the whole NFT fi stuff, all of the things that were in the background, all like the EMMs and stuff, they. I don't know. I mean, I think they should attract quite a bit more liquidity if the blur farming stuff is over. since like the people who are farming the points, they have to go somewhere, and yeah, like the spreads and volatility, I think, should increase as well.
Yeah, that's just, you just for the Big Brother paradigm listening, you just gave them their next signal to launch their next Ponzi. So
Yeah.
just killed NFT finance.
See.
Yeah. I guess like from like a trading standpoint. So like I know you guys were using like V1 quite a bit. Curious, like you know, like how do you guys like? I'm probably the worst trader known to mankind, and I said this kind of last week. I'm just it's not for me. But like curious, like what do you guys look at like when you're trading like a liquid JPEGs? Like I'm sure you're looking at the spot market. You know, how do you guys think about risk management? Because you know hedging's difficult. You know, just curious, like high level, what you're thinking.
I guess I can go first. So I would take a step back and say there are, I don't necessarily look at things like, well, one combined way. I feel like that's a very beautiful way people want to think about things, but ineffective. The best way to think about it would be to create separate processes with respect to, and frameworks with respect to how to look at it. And each one has like different ways to look at things and are like very specific. I don't want to like go into like the very specifics other than to say that like, well, there are processes and frameworks that I build up. Yeah, that's really it.
In my case, I don't know, just mostly gut feeling. I don't know how to define a lot of things. It's I mean, I'm just, following the communities I like, and sometimes you can just feel when people start being excited and like start posting stuff on Twitter and everywhere else. I mean, in most cases, the price will go up. So yeah, I'm trying not to be like the gambler person, like the coin flips is not something that you win in the end, in my opinion. So sort of, I don't know. Just yeah, but mostly a gut feeling. I kind of suck at trading as well, but usually if I feel that something's gonna go up, it like I don't know, like 8 times out of 10 it goes up, and that's just have to trust the gut feeling, I guess.
We need to create a market to bet on you guys. Yeah, I need to go long AC. When you worked in TradFi previously, is there anything like directly like translatable from your experience there to what we're doing here?
Yeah, I think the main thing is the need for frameworks and to iterate, which is not so much like, hey, market knowledge. I mean, market knowledge does have some help, but it's mostly building frameworks and like trying to understand things and then just iterating upon it. I think a lot of people look at it and just say, oh, hell, LOL, we are trading JPEGs, haha, these are worthless. But the more I think deeper on these things, I think there are very clear value propositions and things in which you can think about and try to understand it, which people don't really bother. And there's not really people who try to, I guess, understand it from a more, I don't want to say scientific lens, but at least some degree of scrutiny, some degree of, I'm not sure what the right word is, but like, I guess, intensity.
Tell us a little bit about like how you look at, because from our conversation so far, it seems like you're very focused on analyzing specific community, what their core values are, and how they interact with each other. And like NFTs are, sort of like a manifest of that on chain with people rocking their PFPs and sort of sticking together. How do you think about like communities and trading around attention through different community rises in different narratives? And I want to talk a little bit about share coins too, because I know both of you guys trade share coins.
So I guess like you're asking a little more of a discretionary trade, which I at least, well, maybe not discretionary, but I guess fundamental analysis of sorts, though it could be some degree of systematic analysis trading. But just from a fundamental perspective, the way I like to think about things is that there's never anything that is truly unique. Everything is another one of those. There is historical precedent and examples in which you can look at in the past and just say, okay, this is similar to that. So one thing I like to really look at, to give an example, is Bitcoin and their price actions. So Bitcoin has like very notable behaviors in price action. Basically, it has slow periods of long periods of accumulation into pumps and euphorias, into I guess stalling and then like collapse, but then making a higher low and then like long periods of accumulation. So when I think about that framework and like how and I apply that to communities, I think about it in two ways. Lower level, you can think about it like, well, there's always going to be, if they really are a cult community, long periods of accumulation, and then where people are trying to wash out the fakes and bring about the true believers, and then pumping up moments of euphoria when people are realizing, oh shit, all the sellers are gone. It's up only from here, and they've managed to grab new attention. And from there is period of like collapse. The period of, I guess, euphoria and attention, in my experience, is not actually like it's purely only after people have like washed out all the jeets, so to speak, and it's only based on, I guess, it can be any catalyst. Like the actual catalyst itself is irrelevant, but the cycles I've noticed is basically all the same to each other. That Bitcoin like pattern. Going back and taking a step back and like going higher, you could say that something along the lines of, as long as there is a community that has that kind of Bitcoin like quality and always making higher lows, they have HTF trends upwards, which of course, like, because NFTs have I guess liquidity that is moving in and out, you would have to normalize it against I guess the broader NFT liquidity. But then you could probably like see clear trends of which communities have had Bitcoin like trends upwards.
Yeah, I think it's a very good sum up and explanation around this stuff. I mean, for me, another thing which sort of stands out is, at least from like the numbers perspective, like a lot of the shitcoins, they kind of cap at the similar levels in a sense, or like have similar thresholds that they have to break to sort of advance into the new level. Like first, like you have to break something like 200, 300K. After that, it's like 1 million. And after that, maybe 10 million. And I don't know. So far, most of the shitcoins, they cap at like 30 million. If we go past that, then it's like top 100 market cap material for me. But yeah, like, I don't know, like SPX, MOG, all of these, they kind of followed very similar pattern. And I think it has a lot to do with how many people are that trade shitcoins. If we could attract new people, then these numbers would change. But I mean, I guess people kind of follow similar patterns when they look at the stuff. So yeah.
So from your perspective, and I guess I can tee up this one of the last questions that I wanted to ask. Like, what are some of the NFT communities out there, and maybe they're PFPs, maybe they're not, but we're probably primarily going to focus on NFTs, that you guys think within the framework that Wen had laid out, like which NFT collection do you think kind of fits the framework of they're in this accumulation zone, they've been making higher lows, and the sellers are kind of like, leaving out, and this is a period of a lot of, upside potential for accumulation.
So I think just to take one more step back, it's always worth noting things in like parlays and trying to segment them out, and then like before like diving into this question exactly. So with respect to NFTs, you could probably break it down to maybe like 3 or 4 specific parlays. Number 1 being like, where are we specifically in the crypto cycle? Number 2 being like, what is the NFT market cap relative to the crypto cycle. So for number one, you're basically betting on crypto going back up at some point. Number two, you're basically betting on NFT market cap having a larger percentage of the crypto cycle. It's NFT market cap has been going down only for like a while. We don't actually have that much information on like where it will go. I likely believe that it will grow back as a percentage of the crypto market cap. And then number three, you can probably like break it down to like subsectors of NFT market cap, like which what about the sectors? What about the schizo NFTs? What about the I guess businessman NFTs? What about the I guess woke or Asian or white or like whatever cultural community NFT specifically? How much market cap have they achieved? And then you can break it down further, like amongst the schizo or autistic incel liquidity groups, which specific NFT has collected what percentage of that specific, I guess, market cap amongst NFTs. And when you break it down, that it makes it easier to, I guess, break it down so far. And the reason I bring this up is because effectively NFT market cap has been down only, and it's been even worse relative to the crypto percentage. But once you normalize it, you have a easier sense of like which ones have been making higher lows, so to speak. I think the only one I've seen there has been several. For better or worse, actually, the CryptoPunks have done very well. And I'm actually, even though I hate a lot on BAYC, I've actually been reassessing and looking at how they're handling the recent, I guess, bottoming of sorts. Of course, the number one that comes to mind to me is, I don't want to say Milady, but the schizo audience that Milady has, that specific value capture. It's possible that Milady loses its grip in terms of like that specific capture of the autistic incel / schizo community, whether it be to schizo gremlin, proto gremlins, or other NFT communities. But they've made the sector of schizo NFTs have made higher lows. Milady itself has been a bit of a crossroads for me, but if they regain their dominance, they would probably be fine to that point. So, sorry, I know this is not like an exact answer, but that's how I'm viewing it right now.
No, this is exactly the kind of answer that I was kind of hoping for. It goes to show like there's a ton that you can do in the NFT market space if you know what the right setup looks like in terms of environment, in terms of specific verticals and how communities form. And you can trade that. You can trade attention, you can trade communities. And yeah, I think there's a lot that you can dive in here.
I mean, especially if you LPing stuff, all of the drama, all of the volatility, like with Milady, if you like LP for Milady, I think it's literally gold mine. You're like getting, I don't know, like it's crazy, like how much fees you can generate from all of this stuff. And yeah, I mean, schizo NFTs are great in that regard as well, I think.
100%. I think coming up to 4 or 5 minutes, I think I've asked most of the questions that I wanted to ask here. I think it's been a really insightful conversation. I think we'd love to bring you guys on again at some point later on for NFT Perp. And before we wrap it up, Ryan, did you have any other specific questions for AC and Wen, or AC and Wen? Do you guys have like any specific thoughts that you wanted to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I would just say maybe if we open it up, if anyone listening in wants to ask a question, feel free. And while we queue up, if anyone wants to, just curious, AC and Wen, like what piece of advice would you give to maybe new traders, like and our listeners, for those who may want to get into trading JPEGs or shitcoins?
Yeah, don't use leverage, or at least like maximum 2-3x. I think that's enough in most cases. I mean, short term it might work, but long term, I don't know.
I mean, I guess the advice would be kind of like three principles that I try to abide by. Of course, you guys could always like try to do it however you want, but the way I always thought about it is the most important thing is to create structure or system or at least framework, because you're effectively only doing random shit without any structure. And the second thing is like be deliberate and act with purpose as it pertains to your framework. Again, like everything you do, you should be able to say, okay, I'm going to take a step back. This is where I am in my framework, and this is how it helps me in my framework. And the third thing is just to document and compound in knowledge and never go in circles, especially as it pertains to the first point of like creating a framework. Like your frameworks are never finished, just always to be improved upon, compounded upon, and improved. As long as you are able to like have such a framework and then improve upon it, and while acting deliberately, you will eventually win. And I don't mean that in like oh, this is definitely going to get you money kind of way, but you will eventually make progress no matter how slow your progress is. As long as you are making some progress and you can say to yourself, you are making progress, you will eventually get there to wherever you want to be.
Love it.
Database.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys again. This has been one of my favorite episodes of Look at My JPEG.
Let's
and
go.
we're going to do this more often.
Yeah, we'll have to talk more about Wen's background in a later one. Maybe we'll reserve a separate one because I feel like there's some digging to do there. But yeah, guys, it's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having this.
Thanks for having me. Thanks. Nice meeting you, Ask Crusader, and nice meeting everyone.
Hell yeah.
All right. Have a good Friday, everyone. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers. Have a good weekend, guys.
See you guys.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Look at My JPEG podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your audio podcast from, give us a like, a subscribe if you like the content, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.